Hello again. You probably know why I'm here and why I've called you all here today, unless, of course, you have the good sense not to be on Twitter. An argument has been brewing over there. Slowly pressure cooking, shall we say, since about 3 weeks ago. I think this is roughly where it started.
Would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear?
Bear. Men are scary.
Does that count as androphobia? No? Not even when you literally say men are scary? Well, I guess not, if you're saying it with the smug smile of duper's delight. Is it a joke? I mean, it looks like one.
With a bear.
What I've heard about bears, they don't always attack you, right? Unless you, fuck with them. So maybe a bear.
No, they attack you when they're hungry. You don't even get a chance to F with them. But, I mean, you're actually full on laughing while you say this, so surely it's a joke.
Depends what man, but probably a bear.
It does depend what man, doesn't it? In other words, hashtag not all. I'm glad you're allowed to say it. And it also depends on what bear, doesn't it? And I don't just mean the species. Females are more likely to attack you because they're much more likely to assume that you're going to attack them. Same goes for bears. Now that sounded like a joke because of the bait and switch formulation, but as it happens, it is actually true.
100% a bear, which is terrifying to say, but
Definitely a bear. Some men are very scary out there.
You'll keep saying how scared and terrified you are while sporting these shit-eating grins. And while you're out in public, surrounded by men.
a bear.
I would say a man.
Oh, you found one. Well, isn't that nice? Hashtag not all women either. Okay, so there were a fair few folks on X, formerly Twitter, adding their video contributions to this discourse. And honestly, it's hard to tell who's trolling and who's not, because my crikey, there have been some doozies. I've whittled it down as much as I can in an attempt to track down some semblance of sincerity. Hello, Miranda. Will you respect my rights if I respect yours, Miranda? Do proceed.
If you're one of those guys who's really offended by the whole man versus bear situation, then I really hope that you will listen to this, and I really hope that you will actually legitimately put yourself in this situation.
Well, I'm not one of those men who's really offended. Has anyone said to you, that's offensive? I don't think they have they? It's not really in our playbook, is it? Very important to understand the difference between offending and insulting. The former is received, the latter is given. You are insulting us, clearly and deliberately. You can't get much more insulting than you are worse than a wild animal. You know you're insulting us. You're doing it on purpose. What's more, you know you are trying to offend us. But that doesn't mean you've succeeded in doing so, for we have not taken it as such. You just really love the idea of offending men. While at the same time you constantly complain about how offended you are by everything we say, everything we do, and everything we are. You can treat us worse than wild animals and we still don't get offended, but when we say, have you considered taking personal responsibility for your agency as an adult? And that's victim blaming, that's hate speech, and we get cancelled and possibly arrested. So, yeah, fweep, foul, projection.
Try and imagine it from our perspective, okay? Imagine that somebody poses this hypothetical question to you in which you can either come across a dangerous wild animal in the woods or you can come across a bear. Sorry, it's not funny, and I shouldn't joke.
Okay, so it's not a joke. That was a joke, but the rest of what you're about to say is not. Good, glad we could clear that up. He said, in the naive assumption that anyone can clear this particular mess up. See, some jokes are funny because they're true. some jokes are funny because they're not true. And sometimes the person telling the joke doesn't even know how true it is or whether or not it's even a joke. They're just defaulting to whatever expresses the most man-hatred because it's all they can think of.
You can come across either a dangerous wild animal or someone who is the same species as you but the opposite gender. Now imagine that gender has treated your gender so badly through the years, done the most disgusting, horrible, heinous things to your gender through the years.
I feed on irony, folks, as you know. And it's an uphill struggle trying to find irony rich enough for my gluttonous taste buds, but here we go. Men, you need to try and imagine from my perspective this thing that I am evidently obliviously incapable of imagining from yours. Imagine not being able to imagine. Literally mind-blowing, isn't it? But that's what it's like in a feminist's head.
And so you actually have to really genuinely consider your decision. And not only that, but most of the people who are being asked this question, who are your gender, are actually genuinely leaning towards the dangerous wild animal.
Okay, so it definitely is genuine. It's not a joke. You genuinely would rather be trapped with a wild bear than a man. So when we say that's ridiculous, that's hilarious, that's ludicrously delusional, you're not just going to turn around and go, no, it's not about the bear, right?
Now imagine that when your gender answers this question en masse, and they're all giving the same answer and the same reason for why they would choose the dangerous wild animal.
It's not all of them. There was one woman in that initial clip who said, man, there are women all over the place fervently disagreeing with you, telling you you're an absurd, hateful retard for choosing the bear. See, we don't think it's all women. You do. We sure as hell don't claim to speak for all women. You do.
The gender that has harmed you over centuries, harmed your gender over centuries, is laughing about it, bitching about it, mourning about it, joking about it, and calling you all liars.
It would be a lot simpler if you were just lying, but you're not. You're just hating.
Because that's the situation that we're in, and it's not a game to us, it's not a joke. Because when most of us leave our front doors every morning, it's not a dangerous wild animal we're going to come across. It's you. It's you.
And what happens? 99.9999% of the time, what happens when you come across a man? He doesn't bite your skull in half, does he? He's nice to you. You ignore the 4 billion men who will be nothing but nice to you, and you ignore the giant percentile of bears who, as soon as they see you, will turn you into a spilled kebab. That's right, folks. It comes down to the elusive and confounding notion of per capita. Trying to get a hateful retard to understand per capita is like pulling teeth from a fucking watermelon and just hoping it has teeth.
And you, as a collective, are, first of all, refusing to accept the damage that you have done to us over many, many centuries, why that damage might have led to us being afraid of you and that being ingrained in us.
As a collective, you say. See, not only do you claim to speak for and about all women, you also claim to speak for and about all men. That's why you get so uppity when anyone says, not all men. Because you literally do mean all men. But only, as you may have noticed, in a one-dimensional parceling of agency. Men are a collective when it comes to blame, and women are a collective when it comes to victimhood. Yes, we get it. You blame all men for everything bad, and you worship all women for everything good. This is not news to us. For countless generations, you have drilled it into our heads that this is what you believe. And it's bigotry. Open, shameless, hideous bigotry. But you don't see it as bigotry because bigotry is bad and you don't do bad things. It's an infinite regress of self-referential slop. It's not the nuanced, carefully balanced, difficult to explain Michelin star gourmet fusion dish you think it is. It's what you shat out the following morning and watched as it circled the toilet bowl, dragging civilization into the gutter with it. Get the throbbing, twitching fuck over yourself.
And more than that, because you're refusing to accept any of this, you're refusing to accept the fact that the only way that this narrative that you dislike so much changes is if you guys change. You guys have to change. Otherwise, this is the way that the narrative will continue for centuries into the future.
Okay, I'll stop mauling you to death. I'll stop tearing you limb from limb and wearing the last wet remains of your blood and organs around my satiated snout. Oh wait, I can't stop doing shit that I never started doing. And the thing is, the question wasn't, would you rather be stuck in the woods with a bear or a murderer? With a bear or a cannibal? With a bear or a domestic abuser? It's quite explicitly, or rather quite generally, a man. Just a man. It's not criminally violent abusers you have a problem with, it's men. Yes, all men. So what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to change from the thing you have a problem with to the thing you don't have a problem with? It seems the answer is obvious, isn't it? I'll denounce my masculinity altogether. I'll claim I'm a woman. I'll talk like women talk, dress like women dress, blame men for everything just like you do. Hey, maybe I'll have my genitals turned inside out and then I'll start using the women's toilets. For anyone who thinks that's a gotcha, by the way, when you say, well, if you think men are so scary and dangerous, can you see why I don't want them sharing a public toilet with women? It's not the mic drop you think it is. You're talking across two different kinds of feminist bigot. You're using the values of trans-exclusionary feminists to try and appeal to the trans-inclusive ones. It won't work. The obvious and predictable response is, but they're not men. They identify as women, therefore they are women. I know it doesn't make sense to anyone with their head screwed on, but you must understand. What they hate more than anything is the idea of men. That's why they don't talk to us as individuals. They talk to us as a collective. It doesn't matter what kind of individual man you are. It doesn't matter if you're their husbands or their sons or their fathers. It doesn't matter how saintly you might be, how unselfishly you live your life, or how unconditionally you love women. You are still guilty of and culpable for the original sin that is the very concept of men. The one they have in their heads. Their warped, irreversibly brainwashed heads. Nothing will ever be good enough. Even if you trans yourself, that still won't quite be good enough. Because you'll still have to abide by the dogmatic doctrine that men are evil. That men are all that is evil. And if you don't abide by that doctrine, you can bet your smacked ass they won't let you into their spaces. There's no negotiating with this cult. There is no compromise they will ultimately accept. No argument that will make them see sense. They will only suck and suck and suck until you are a bloodless husk. And then they will still blame your bloodless husk for everything bad in the world. There's nothing you can do except walk away. As far as you can. As fast as you can. And when this contagion infects the people you thought were on your side, you walk away from them too. Okay? You need to stop feeding it and let it die.
Now, I want to propose for a second that you remove the bear from the situation entirely. Just ask any woman you know whether she would feel comfortable if she was in the woods coming across a lone man or, God forbid, a group of men.
God forbid such a thing. They really mean it, you know. They don't want men in groups. They want them isolated from each other, never talking to each other, only existing to serve their single mothers. Yeah, and they're pretty sure that's going to raise healthy males without an ounce of resentment in their hearts and absolutely no risk of becoming unhinged or, God forbid, violent. Been working like a treat so far, hasn't it?
Just ask. Ask the question. And I can guarantee that most women will tell you no, and then you should be wondering why.
Yeah, it's because you're cunts. I ain't wondering shit, you're cunts.
And you should be trying to figure out how you can change this narrative that you hate so much.
That narrative that I hate. That narrative where I'm the hateful one. I'm changing it now. I'm doing my best.
Because actually what you're doing at the moment is just running around and screaming and moaning, and you're hoping that if you do that for long enough, women will just drop the entire scenario and we'll go away.
No, I'm going away. You stay right where you are. The people you hate will be right the fuck over there. That's the only thing I'm hoping for.
Like, you're hoping that if you do that long enough, we'll just shut up and we'll go away, and you can just go about your life and you can pretend that women are not afraid of you, or you can pretend that you don't know that women are afraid of men generally as a collective, and then you don't have to ask yourself how you change your behaviour so that that narrative that women aren't afraid of men is true, rather than just something you've made up in your head because it makes you feel better.
No, yeah, we know. You've made your irrational fear and hatred of all men crystal fucking clear. And we've no intention of shutting you up. We've no intention of making you go away. We have decided to stop talking to you and go the fuck away and talk to our computers instead. Therein, with any luck, we can scour the globe and eventually find a woman who's not programmed to be a massive cunt. And if we can't do that, we'll just talk to an AI-generated woman who is programmed not to be a massive cunt. And then another bunch of massive cunts will go, whoop, that'll never happen. Whatever, there's only a total bunch of losers will do that. And we'll go, yep, that's why we're fucking off. Bye. Enjoy raising a spawn by yourself, you massive cunt.
If you don't like the answer that women are giving when they're being asked that question, it is your responsibility as a collective of men to change your behaviour so that our answer changes. You can't just scream and shout and moan and hope that we will change our answer just so that we can make you feel a bit happier. Like, we're not going to do that, and you can't tell us to shut up or shut us up anymore. It doesn't work like that.
I don't want your answer to change. I want to know exactly who the massive cunts are and where they are. I want you to continue broadcasting to the world on a giant neon sign. Warning, massive cunt right here. All trespassers will be prosecuted, etc. And I don't expect you to change. Just like I don't expect bears to change. Apex predators got where they are by being apex predators. They're not going to change anytime soon, and why would they? So I'm not going to go where they are. See, that's the rational and consistent approach to such things. When someone actually encounters a bear in the wild, you know what they don't do? They don't go, bear, you need to change. You need to understand that you bears as a collective make us feel scared. And when we tell you this, you need to, oh, fuck, I'm dead. Because that's what would happen. And you know it. That's not how you talk to those who ruthlessly predate you. That's how you talk to those on whom you ruthlessly predate. It's how abusers talk to the abused. It's how groomers talk to their victims. You know men aren't going to kill you and eat you. You know that men love you and will do anything for you. And all you do is take advantage of it. By telling them that they're useless and pathetic and that they hate you. You are trying to appeal to men's empathy and compassion by telling them they don't have any. And men just take it. They believe it, as self-evidently nonsensical as it is. They bear the brunt. They shoulder the burden. And they take it to their graves, forever beating themselves up because you told them to. You've been doing it to them for their whole lives. And for their fathers' lives before them. And so on. It's not all women, folks. I promise you they're not all like this. But if this whole rigmarole has taught us anything, it's that it's not just a minority, but a growing majority who are very much like this. And you do not have to give them a crumb of your patience, let alone your affection. Be your own man. Be your own prize. Be comfortable with your own company. That's how you repel the women who are massive cunts. And conveniently enough, it's also how you attract the ones who are not. Good luck. Godspeed. And don't let the bastards grind you down. Alright. Don't hit like, don't hit subscribe, don't hit the notification bell. None of it does anything. Please feel free to support me on Patreon or Subscribestar or PayPal. 1,000 heartfelt appreciations for those of you who have, since my last video. I mean my last video on YouTube. I have done one since then that was exclusive to Rumble and BitChute and Odyssey. And I might get into the habit of doing more of those, if only to encourage you all to join me there. Links in the description, as always. Got a couple of Raginings coming up over at Honey Badger Radio. And don't forget, I'm live every Tuesday and Thursday over at Badger Livestreams, where we have an assortment of men and women who are not massive cunts. Except me. I'm very much a massive cunt. Who else but a massive cunt would say massive cunt so many times in one video? Alright. It's gonna be a summer, boys. Just a summer. It's better than nothing. Because if it was nothing, then it wouldn't be in anything. I should have stopped talking several moments ago. Tell you what, I'll do it now.